CD Projekt actually did it. Two of the worst possibilities were that the protagonist of the next Witcher would either be Ciri, because she's ridiculously overpowered, or that we would be able to create our own Witcher, which I dislike because such a character is essentially a blank slate like in the Elder Scroll games, and will never have as interesting personality or character as a pre-written one. I wouldn't be opposed to it if it were done similarly to Cyberpunk, but I still think V will never be as good of a character as a pre-written one with a predefined appearance based on an actor who can also perform facial animations through motion capture. I was really hoping they would create a new unknown character, ideally set in a completely different time period, so we could move as far away as possible from Geralt, Yennefer, Ciri and the other characters we already know. That would also expand the lore of the Witcher world. I was hoping to see Kovir or Nilfgaard. I also hoped they would name it something other than The Witcher 4, because it sort of undermines the fact that the first 3 games are a cohesive trilogy that concluded Geralt's story. I think it would have been much better to call it The Witcher and add some subtitle. But it seems that CD Projekt wanted to play it safe and rely on brand recognition, so they named it The Witcher 4 to make it clear to the normies that it's a continuation, and they picked a character everyone knows. They'll have to explain how Ciri went through the Trial of Grasses and why she would even do something so dangerous which she might not even survive, given that she's already more powerful than any Witcher without it. Not to mention that this completely disregards the books, where Geralt and Yennefer constantly grapple with how difficult it is to be different from others and unable to have children. I doubt they would want the same fate for Ciri, who could still have children if she wanted to. I also saw a good argument on the Witcher subreddit, which said that none of the Witchers we see ever wanted to be one, and this is a point clearly made throughout all the books and previous games, so Ciri willingly becoming a Witcher feels just weird. Moreover, this means that the only canon ending of The Witcher 3 is the one where Ciri becomes a Witcher, which I always viewed as the most fanservice-y ending, and I don't like it. I always pick the ending where she becomes Empress because it's not entirely bad, but it's also not a completely happy ending, so it feels more fitting for the world of The Witcher. The bittersweet ending where Geralt has to say goodbye to Ciri reminds me the most of the conclusion in the books, which is why I like it the most. And CD Projekt has now effectively said, no, this isn't the right ending because we decided on fanservice. It all feels like a calculated move to milk the franchise. There are so many possibilities for telling interesting stories in this world, completely separate from what we already know. That's why I like the Witcher stories, which tell short tales about completely ordinary characters who are unimportant in the grand scheme of the world. It's funny that even the end of the trailer felt like a cheap imitation of Geralt's killing monsters line. I don't want The Witcher to become another Star Wars where everything revolves around the Skywalker family and can't break away from it. The fact that CD Projekt is willing to exploit The Witcher like this in such an unoriginal way is just another reason I'm losing hope in the future of this brand. I'm curious to see if they can somehow turn this around and get me excited for it, but I doubt it. And by the way, I don't generally dislike Ciri as a character. I learned to like her in the books over the years, and she didn't bother me in The Witcher 3 either, because she was just a supporting character appearing only briefly in the story. The parts where we played as her were relatively short, which was good because playing as such an overpowered character is boring in my opinion. But now that she's going to be the main character, The Witcher is losing something I love the most about it, and that's how ordinary and mundane it is compared to other epic fantasy worlds. Even though Geralt was a bit of an over-the-top killing machine in the games, he was still just an ordinary Witcher, not some all-powerful dragonborn chosen one. And that's exactly what Ciri seems to often ultimately be, unfortunately. So I feel like CD Projekt is shifting from the more ordinary and mundane approach to epicness with Ciri. And that's something I absolutely hate when people do with this fantasy world, because it completely strips The Witcher of its uniqueness in the fantasy genre, which is otherwise oversaturated with epic fantasy worlds. I think that if they'll emphasize Ciri's human side, her struggles, traumas and so on, I could get behind it, but if they'll go just for the power fantasy that the normie gamers will enjoy the most, I'll really hate it. What I also find funny is that whenever someone dared to criticize the Witcher Netflix show for completely lacking Slavic atmosphere, there were always tons of people ready to argue to the death that The Witcher isn't supposed to be Slavic at all according to the books. But then Projekt releases this Turbo-Slavic trailer with Ciri, and these people are suddenly nowhere to be found. Almost everybody loves it, and no one has a problem with the Slavic atmosphere anymore. Anyway, let me know what you think about this. These were just my initial thoughts that I quickly put together today because I didn't have much time since we are at the Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 booth with Warhorse at one gaming conference in Prague today and tomorrow. Take care and see you next time.